どうしちゃったどうしちゃったどうしちゃった裏と表間違ってるんだよ。閉まったじゃん。
間違ってさ、2つあって別なところに入れてさ。
The way for you to go. How much are you all looking to borrow, Sarah, and in what timeline?
Well, I have had some people look at what we were wanting to do before, and this was before COVID, and they were saying, probably 50,000-ish, more or less.
Okay.
But now since COVID and the prices have gone up, I'm sure it'll, get a bit more than that.
It could be, yeah. And what equity do you have in the house? What's the house worth, and what do you own it today?
Well, I don't know how much equity is in it right now, to be honest, because my husband had got the house the year before he and I got together.
Okay.
And he still owes, I want to say, probably around $50,000 on it now.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And what do you think it's worth, roughly?
I wouldn't even know where to start, to be honest, with the way the house prices are today, because they've more than doubled.
Yeah. I mean, you could go to Zillow.com, Zillow, put in your home address, and you'd get an idea. Not that that's the end all, but you'd get a start. Yeah, I think for you, the home equity line of credit would be the best option. I would reach out among any other places you want to look to our friends at Movement Mortgage, movement.com/faith. But that's probably the way to go, Sarah. Stay on the line. We'll talk a bit more. We'll be right back. We are grateful to Chessman Wealth Strategies for their support of faith and finance. Their mission is to help clients make smart choices with their money so they can worry less, enjoy life, and ultimately become good stewards of the resources God has entrusted to them. ChessmanWealth.com. That's ChessmanWealth.com. The phone number is 214-572-2120. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Washington Watch. Coming up on this Friday edition of Washington Watch, last week,
no more tolerance for abusive actions by monopolies.
But is it really just another power grab by the federal government? Parents are not happy with classroom indoctrination and the radical policies they're pushing.
Washington Watch, weekday afternoons at 4 Central and Saturday evenings at 6 Central on American Family Radio.
We
support from Eventide Investments on the Faith and Finance program. Eventide's approach to values-based investing is grounded in the belief that humankind was created in the image of God, with intrinsic dignity, value, and worth. Eventide calls this investing that makes the world rejoice. More information is available at eventideinvestments.com. That's eventideinvestments.com.
Are you investing in the future of God's kingdom or wonder how your money can make the most impact for His purposes? Kenneth Boa and Russ Crossan wrote the book Leverage, Using Temporal Wealth for Eternal Gain, to guide these discussions and build a financial legacy where moth nor rust destroy. Request your copy with your gift of any amount at faithfi.com. Your donation helps us share God's financial principles with others. Leverage your resources for greater impact today.
What does the American Family Association stand for?
AFA believes that all men and women, whether in private or public, should be free to exercise their faith without hindrance from the government.
These values and more are part of our mission to inform, equip, and activate individuals to strengthen the moral foundations of our culture. We also support the church. We want to be a leading organization in biblical worldview training for cultural transformation. Thank you for standing with us.
Are you struggling to fit your faith into your practice as a Christian financial advisor? The Certified Kingdom Advisor designation teaches you a step-by-step process to confidently deliver advice that aligns with Christian values. Discover the skills you need to help your clients make a kingdom impact. Get started today by enrolling in the CKA educational program at kingdomadvisors.com/getcertified. That's kingdomadvisors.com/getcertified.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance on American Family Radio. Taking your calls and questions today on anything financial, 800-525-7000. We'd love to help, encourage you, provide some practical advice rooted in Scripture. 800-525-7000. You can call right now. Also coming up in our next segment, Bob Dahl stops by with his Monday market commentary. We'll find out what Bob's thinking about as we start another week in the markets. But first, let's head back to the phones to Virginia. Hi, Jacqueline. Thanks for your patience. Go ahead.
Hi. So I'm calling because I was given some stocks from my late uncle's estate in August 2022. And because I did nothing with them, I forgot about them and forgot to put them in my taxes. Now I'm trying to figure out, how do I go back and let them know I have these? What kind of forms would I fill out?
Yeah. Well, never a bad idea to check with a CPA when you have tax questions, but I will just say, kind of generally speaking here, Jacqueline, am I understanding that you didn't sell these positions, you just received them and you've held on to them? Is that right?
Correct. I received them, held on to them, and they've actually lost a couple $1,000s. They went from a value of $7,000 to $5,000. So there's been no gain since I received them.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You don't have to report that you received them. You, with inherited stock, you would only owe taxes when you sell them if you had a gain from the date that you received them, because you get the stepped up basis to the date of death. So the cost basis on these for determining any capital gains is the date of death. And then from that point forward, you either have a gain or a loss, but you don't realize that until you sell them. So the fact that you've held these, there's not a capital gain or a capital loss that would be reported on your taxes because you still own them. And there's no inheritance tax, and so theoretically there's nothing to report until you liquidate this position or a portion. That's right. Then you'd either have a capital gain or a capital loss based on the selling price versus the market value as of the date of death. So if you were to sell them today, based on what you're telling me, you'd have a loss, not a gain. So you wouldn't owe any taxes, and you may be able to use that to your advantage, depending on the rest of your tax situation.
Oh, okay, super. That makes me feel so much better.
Okay, good. Hey, thanks for calling today. All the best to you, and I'm sorry to hear about your uncle's passing, but I'm delighted to hear that you want to be a faithful steward of what God has given you. So call anytime if we can help further. 800-525-7000 is the number to call. We'd love to tackle your financial questions today. We've got a couple of lines open again, 800-525-7000. Let's go to Mississippi. Hey, Gary, thanks for calling, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thanks.
I'm blessed myself. I am calling you today. I got hurt about 17 years ago when I've been on disability. So I'm actually starting a new job today. I drive trucks for a living, and I'll be making $125,000, but I'm wanting to pay my house off before I retire at 64.
Okay. Yeah. So you're just wondering what that payment schedule needs to look like in order to get that done?
Right, because I've been living on disability on like $1,780 a month. So I'm going to keep living like that and just put, save whatever on my house, double my note, whatever I need to do to either pay it off in 10 years or have it pretty close to paid off.
Yeah, very good. I love that plan, Gary, because that would help you to, reduce your lifestyle at that point as you're heading into retirement, to ensure that largest expense is no longer, a part of your spending plan, which is just going to make, there's a lot less pressure on you for income generation if you're living on Social Security or some other retirement. Here's what I would do. We have a great tool just for this purpose, Gary. There's no cost to use it. Are you comfortable using the internet?
Sure.
Yeah. So just go to faithfi.com. That's faithfi.com/debt. faithfi.com/debt. And what you'll find there is just a really simple tool, and you'll enter in the debt that you have, and you might just enter in this home mortgage if you don't want to put other things in it. And then when you get to the end of kind of the questions that it'll ask you about your debt, it will give you a really simple interface where you can see, you'll have a slider, and you can basically determine how much you need to send extra every month in order to hit a certain target for that payoff. It'll even give you the amortization schedule that shows you out of every payment how much is going to interest, how much is going to principal. But I think that's going to give you what you're looking for, and then you can play around with that to figure how much beyond your scheduled monthly payment you need to send in order to accomplish your goal of getting this house paid off in 10 years. Okay?
Okay, and right now I have no other debt whatsoever. My car is paid off.
Oh, that's great.
I live in an apartment, so I don't have any debt outstanding. So everything would be going toward my house and then, toward my retirement and whatever.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, I'm delighted to hear you're back to work, Gary. I'm sure that feels good to be out and about, huh?
Oh, absolutely. God has blessed me in so many ways.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for your testimony of God's faithfulness. And again, that website you're looking for, faithfi.com/debt. And I think that'll give you all the tools you need. It's really easy to use, and it'll arm you with the tools to be able to get that plan that's going to take you in that direction. We appreciate your call, Gary. If you need any help with anything else along the way, let us know. By the way, folks, this is a phenomenal resource that our team put together. Again, faithfi.com/debt. It's also great for credit card debt, and it'll help you analyze the debt that you have. You can even look at it, your credit card debt, in light of the snowball versus the avalanche method. What in the world is that, you might say? Well, the snowball is when you go smallest to largest balance, not counting the interest rate, and it helps you get a quick win to give you the kind of psychological boost to keep going. You can compare that to the avalanche method to see if you go highest to lowest interest rate as you pay off your credit cards. And again, you can determine how much you need to pay extra to get it paid off in a certain period of time. It's really helpful. Our team did a great job with it. Check it out today. All right, back to the phones quickly to Texas. Hi, Danny. Go ahead, sir. Danny, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
I am wanting to pay my house off and use 401 money from my 401k.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just wondering if that's a good idea. Will be 60 in January, and I'm planning on retiring this year. And
be drawing from my 401k. So if I don't pay my house off, I'm going to have to draw probably approximately 8% a month.
Yeah.
But if I paid my house off, then I would be drawing, of course, much less, you know.
Yeah. How much do you have in your 401k?
Probably about 1.5.
Okay. And how much do you owe on the house?
A little less than 100,000.
Okay. So you'd have about 1.4 left, and then how much would you need per month to pull from that after you paid off the house?
If I just probably around 5,000.
Okay.
At that time.
Yeah, I like that plan because I think, you know, at 4% a year on 1.4, I think you could easily pull 5,000 a month, about 60,000 a year. And I think taxes are headed higher, so I kind of like the fact that you're not going to have the penalty, but you're going to be paying a low tax rate. I might just look at pulling it over 2 tax years. Let's talk more around the corner. We'll be right back. Our thanks to Certified Kingdom Advisor Wade Chessman, President and Wealth Advisor, and his team at Chessman Wealth Strategies in Dallas for their support of faith and finance. Their goal is to help their clients expand their understanding of biblical financial principles and how to implement them. The website is chessmanwealth.com. The phone number is 214-572-2120. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
I love AFR. You say it's on the radio too?
Here at American Family Radio, we know that many people find their audio entertainment in other places than the radio. So our programming is available with the AFR app on Apple and Android devices, through Amazon Alexa, and now available on Roku.
I just love the podcasts.
That too. American Family Radio, streaming or podcast, now available wherever you are. And we're on the radio.
What's most important to you when it comes to choosing your financial advisor? Someone who's aligned with your biblical values? How about someone who will take the time to explain your options? Certified Kingdom Advisors are professionals who meet high standards in competence and integrity and have been trained to offer biblical financial advice. To find a Certified Kingdom Advisor in your area, visit faithfi.com and click Find a CKA.
We are grateful for support from Sound Mind Investing in the Faith and Finance Program. For more than 30 years, they've been helping Christians reach their financial goals with step-by-step guidance for investors at every stage, from those just getting started to those getting ready for retirement. Through scriptural principles and practical suggestions, SMI offers financial wisdom for living well. More information, including the short video webinar on profit and peace of mind, no matter what's happening in the market, is available at soundmindinvesting.org.
Thanks for joining us today on Faith and Finance on American Family Radio. I'm Rob West. We're taking your calls and questions today. I've got room for maybe 1 or 2 more before we round out the broadcast. 800-525-7000. You can call right now. That's 800-525-7000. Each Monday, Bob Dahl joins us in this segment. Bob is Chief Investment Officer at Crossmark Global Investments. Bob weighs in on his market analysis and commentary. He calls it the Dahl's Deliberations. Bob, good morning.
And to you, sir.
All right, another week. Here we go. Market's been under some pressure as of late. What are you thinking about? What are you watching as we start the week?
Things that are weighing on the market, Rob. One that's really new, I think, is
continuing. There's no question we're seeing some cracks here and there, but overall the labor market has remained robust. We had another very low initial jobless claim number last week. That's a weekly statistics comes out every Thursday, as you know, Rob, and that is signaling labor's just doing fine, despite some of the strikes and the massive number of people that are affected as a result.
Yeah, and then we're just getting underway with Q3 earnings, but what are you seeing coming in there?
So far, so okay. Sort of like the first 2 quarters of this year, when the dust settled, we could say, and earnings came in less bad than expected, but the less bad meaning that they were down. There's a shot we'll have up earnings here in the third quarter, but I think it's going to be more what do companies say about current business trends the fourth quarter and next year. And that's where we're concerned, because analysts have estimates for 2024 up 11% versus 2023. That's a big number unless the economy reaccelerates.
Yeah, no question about that. Bob, let's finish with the housing market. You know, this is such a challenging environment, and if you're trying to enter as a first-time home buyer, I mean, you've got average homes in this country now north of 400,000. We just crossed the 8% interest rate mark last year for a 30-year home loan. I mean, this is a difficult environment to get into the housing market, isn't it?
It sure is. I mean, if you have to, because you're moving somewhere, you've got to for life reasons. But for speculation, I wouldn't run out and go buy a whole lot of houses tomorrow morning for the reason you suggest. Prices have not dipped much. Borrowing costs are reasonably high. And part of that's a function of there's a shortage of housing. We didn't build enough houses, and the baby boomers that were supposedly live in their parents' basements forever are beginning to say, no, I want my own house. That's the reason, despite the numbers we put on the page, you can see the market being robust.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, Bob, let's wrap up today by just talking about the opportunity we have to put our values to work when we deploy capital. You know, even though this is a growing space and there's new products all the time, certainly you're right at the center of this and the funds that you manage. But for a lot of folks, this is still a brand new idea. Give them just a quick primer on what the opportunity is.
You are so correct. Whether it's individual Christians or even financial advisors who are Christians, a lot of people are just saying, oh, tell me more about this. It's still an education process. The opportunity, and something you well know, Rob, is can I line up my investments with my values, with my faith? And the answer is yes, of course you can, just like you think about doing that the rest of your life. You wouldn't go rob a bank to get income because it's not the right thing to do. You wouldn't give your money away to organizations that are using it for subversive purposes. Yeah. Why not this investment piece the same way? Can I line things up? And the answer is you can. There are lots more products out than there were 5 and 10 years ago, and a lot of evidence you don't have to give up any returns to do it. So my advice to Christian investors, Christian financial advisors is think long and hard about this and figure out how to begin to do it.
Yeah, very good, Bob. Well, we know Crossmark Global is a great place to get started in that education process, and they can sign up for your weekly commentary at Dahl's Deliberations there as well, right?
Yes, sir. We'd be happy to serve anybody who's interested.
Very good. CrossmarkGlobal.com is the website. Bob, thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Rob.
All right. That's Bob Dahl, Chief Investment Officer at Crossmark Global Investments. He's a regular contributor at Fox Business and CNBC, and we're grateful for his insightful biblical analysis of the markets each week during this segment. All right, we're going to round out the program today here, folks. I've got room for maybe one more question. If you have a financial question today, 800-525-7000. You know, when it comes to those kids in the basement that Bob was talking about that are ready to get out on their own, a lot of them aren't quite launching yet. And we need to be thoughtful and intentional with our adult children about teaching them biblical financial principles before launching them into adulthood. And if it's too late for that, here's what you can do when you want to give your grown kids money. Number one, pray. Ask the Lord to give you wisdom. Second, remember there's nothing wrong with including your kids in your long-term financial plans. But when the unexpected happens and you decide to help, have a frank conversation before making any financial commitment. Insist on financial accountability and transparent communication. Thirdly, before you extend help, clarify your financial expectations. The goal is for your child to be living within his or her means and on a budget as much as possible before you extend any assistance. I would say also, and this one's key, give any financial gift a timeline so they know the help is temporary, and I would say put it in writing. Now, I know this might feel uncomfortable, but remember, good stewardship requires accountability. It's helpful for them and you to have the plan in writing to avoid miscommunication, which can lead to a damaged relationship. And then point your children to places where they can get wise financial counsel. They may be able to solve their own money problems with a little outside the family help. Now listen, folks, I know watching your adult children struggle is hard, but it's important for you to weigh the matter carefully and then decide when and if, and that's key, your help is necessary. And when you need wisdom, always turn to the Lord. This can be difficult, but hopefully that gives you some things to think about. All right, let's head back to the phones to Tennessee. Hey, Mark, how can we help you today?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Hey, I've got, I'm retired. I'm 63 years old. Got about $1 million in investments with a financial advisor. I'm getting a return of probably about 4% over a 10-year, 3.75 over 5-year, and just over 0% over 3-year. I'm wondering, what should I expect from a portfolio when I'm getting a professional financial advisor helping me with my finances?
Yeah, in terms of the rate of return?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, the way you would typically approach this is you'd look at the investment strategy and then you would compare it to a benchmark. And you'd say, okay, if I had a growth and income portfolio and, 60-40 stocks to bonds, what did a 60-40 S&P 500 index versus the bond index, how did that return, and how do my returns compare? And then you would, at least there's obviously a lot more than an advisor can offer in the way of planning and, tax loss harvesting and, also even faith integration. But just purely based on the returns, you'd have to look at it against the benchmark. And to the extent you're lagging the benchmark, if you were just lagging one of them and the other, two are you're positive, I think that's just to be expected. You're going to have seasonality to that. If you're lagging on all of them, you're lagging in the short term, you're lagging in the 3-year, you're lagging in the 5-year. I think that's a basis for a conversation, Mark, just to say, hey, let's talk about this. When we look at my portfolio and how I'm allocated, and we look apples to apples against the leading benchmarks, I'm paying you a fee, and I'm not even earning, the same as just if I were to put it into the index at the same allocation. Why is that? Let's talk about it. Where are we going from here? And why are we underperforming? That's a legitimate conversation, especially because you're paying for that oversight and management. But then I think you also need to look at the other elements to the relationship and have the advisor be able to explain to you what other value add is being brought to the table in terms of, again, taxes and faith-based and those types of things. So hopefully that gives you at least a starting point, Mark, to begin to think and talk about this. I'd just be really honest and transparent, though, when you have that conversation. Thanks for your call today, Frank. Let's see if we can get you on tomorrow. I'm Rob West. Thanks to my team today, Devin, Robert, and Jim. Couldn't do it without them. Have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
90.5 KTXG, Greenville, Dallas.
It's the laugh of a baby. Some only believe that life begins when the baby is born, but that's just not so. Psalm 139:13 tells us that God knits us together in the womb at conception. The heartbeat begins in the womb, and the unborn baby is able to respond to sounds and touch. That's why it's our duty and privilege to fight for the sanctity of life. Thank you for joining that fight from AFA.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
This is American Family News. I'm Steve Jordahl. The terrorist group Hezbollah has already started gearing up and preparing to open a second front against Israel in northern Lebanon. AFN's Chad Groening has more.
As the world awaits the all-out assault on Gaza by Israeli defense forces in the south, in the north, Hezbollah has at least 150,000 missiles directed at Israel, spread in 40 towns in southern Lebanon that can reach all of Israel. Brigitte Gabriel is a national security analyst and chairman of Act for America and author of the bestseller Rise. She is also a native of Lebanon.
It is now imminent that Hezbollah will open up a second front in northern Lebanon. They're already started gearing up and preparing for that. Many of the homes that were built in southern Lebanon since 2006 had rooms with retractable ceilings where Hezbollah can launch rockets from within these rooms into Israel because Hezbollah controls the majority of southern Lebanon.
Gabriel says Hezbollah is being supplied with weapons through Syria,
from Russia, from North Korea, from Iran, and is being trained by the Iranians.
Gabriel says Hezbollah's anti-warship missile capabilities pose a major threat to our American warship station now in the Mediterranean. And she says Hezbollah also has drones capable of dropping munitions supplied by Iran, which could play a major role if Hezbollah gets into the fight. This will cause immense problems for Israel. I'm Chad Groening.
Israeli warplanes struck targets across Gaza early Monday after another small aid shipment was allowed into the territory controlled by Hamas terrorists. Israel is widely expected to launch a ground offensive in Gaza following the Hamas massacre of more than 1,400 Israeli men, women, and children on October 7th. The FBI says there's been an increase in anti-Semitism nationwide in response to the Israeli-Hamas war, with attacks against Jewish people taking place across the world. Fox's Trey Yingst is covering the war in southern Israel.
It's a huge concern that the calls for violence from Hamas will spread not just to the rest of the region, but to the entire world. They have called for global days of jihad, an effort to try and kill as many as possible. And remember, in the early days of this conflict, there were other attacks against Israelis and Jews abroad. In Egypt, there was a bus tour where 2 Israelis were killed. There was an attempt at other locations in northern Africa to try and destroy any locations where there would be Israeli visitors. Traditionally, Israelis have been, over the past 2 years, going to places like Morocco. Now the Israeli government telling people not to travel, even to the Gulf, where there were efforts for peace.
And China may be trying to exploit the world's attention being directed towards Israel, but the United States has renewed a warning that it would defend the Philippines in case of an armed attack after Chinese ships locked and collided with 2 Filipino vessels in the South China Sea. Canada is giving drug addicts a new reason to quit their addiction. AFN's Charlie Butts reports.
In late March, mentally ill people, even though they cannot consent, will qualify for MAID, medical assistance in dying. David Cook of Campaign Life Coalition tells AFN Parliament voted on a bill that would have reversed that.
If just 9 members of Parliament voted the opposite way, it would have gone the way we wanted, but those 9 members of Parliament ensured that the mentally ill in Canada can be killed. This is a direction we've seen in the past in history under Nazi Germany, and I think we're seeing it again. The next step, what is that?
That's already been decided. Under the law, drug addicts can qualify. So why?
An addiction is a mental illness. They are going to be qualified for euthanasia.
Initially, the suicide law was to allow people with an incurable illness with death foreseeable to qualify. No more.
If you feel your suffering is unbearable, your mental illness is dominating your life, you feel subjectively that way, then you can qualify. You are a killable class of Canadians. You have mental illness, you can be killed.
Canada has gone that far down the slippery slope towards death on demand. So, to answer the question of who's next, well, perhaps racial minorities or political opponents can be ushered out of life with a legal suicide needle. I'm Charlie Butts.
And for American Family News, I'm Steve Jordahl.
Forget about Facebook. The last 10 days we've been banned twice, and is unbanning a word?
They put us under the ban. Christians and conservatives don't need YouTube.
Banned one day, banned again.
AFR programs are now live streaming on the AFA streaming app. Now you can get shows like today's issues straight from the source.
Put it back on the next.
Just say unbanned.
Unbanned.
Just search AFA streaming or visit streaming.afa.net to sign up. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Today's Issues is the name of this show, and we again thank you for listening to AFR. Joining me in studio is Fred Jackson. Good morning, Fred.
Good Monday to you.
And good morning, Christopher Woodward.
Hello.
And Chris, so that's what your mama called you, right, Christopher?
Yes, sir, Timothy.
When you were, I got that too. That's you know you're in trouble, right?
In trouble, right?
Yeah.
Well, your full name.
Yeah. My middle name is John, so when I got a Christopher John, I was really in trouble.
Well, a lot to talk about. That's happened since Thursday, since we guys did this show. If you want to join us on the internet, a couple, three ways to do that. One is our own AFR streaming service. So if you want see the video streaming of this show and access a lot of the other information we have here at American Family Association, go to streaming.afa.net. Streaming.afa.net. We also are on Facebook and YouTube. Just type in Today's Issues on Facebook. Today's Issues Facebook. A lot of you watch there, and